I have a feeling I've just been talking to myself, so we'll try again. So, first of all, oh, thank you, Julie. Can you hear me now, Julie? There's a 10-second delay, so it'll take me a while to find out. Yay, lovely. You just have to turn it on again. Well, we'll start again. We say you're never supposed to start something by apologising, so I apologise for my apology. However, I've just, in the last week, since we did the first one of these, I've been watching lots of YouTube videos, and apparently I got it all wrong. You're supposed to start every YouTube live stream with the word, "What's up?" What's up? I've no idea what that means really. Not very exciting what's up in here. I also have to apologise, I don't seem to be wearing a silly hat either, and that seems to be also part of it. I might see if I can do better next week. Well, welcome to our Wednesday prayers. I hope this is going to work. I was slightly confused by British summertime when I was setting up the settings on the YouTube account, so possibly if you put the schedule, let you know schedule, that you won't actually know about this for another hour, because I've really got no idea what time it is anymore. However, here we are. So this is our Wednesday prayers, what we would normally do at school or something similar. We're going to have a story. We're going to do something interesting with some prayers on the screen, and that's going to be it really. So let's start, shall we? So you can, if you'd like to, join in with the words when they appear on the screen. That would be great. The Lord be with you, and also with you. Now, a while ago in school we were talking about saints, and I did collective worship, and we involved various people, and if you remember, Mr. G was one of our saints, and Mr. Knight was one of our saints, and there were lots of other people in the school who were named after saints. And I told you very briefly about one of my favourite ones. So I'm going to start off today by just telling you a little bit more about him. Now, if you remember, it was a French saint, and he was called Saint Beinheur, and he was from the area of the Loire. Now, he is famous because he got rid of a dragon, and so I thought I would just introduce somebody to you this morning. So this, if we can see, is Bob. Say hello, Bob. And Bob is a dragon of sorts who doesn't really want to be out of her box, because her box is lovely and warm, and anyone who knows Ivor the engine knows that dragons love it to be lovely and warm. So this is Bob. Bob's a girl, obviously. Her shortened name is Kate, and as we know, Kate is short for Bob, or some of you will know this. And Bob is a desert iguana, so she likes it to be really hot. But we have other animals in our house called Kate, so she gets to be called Bob most of the time. So this is Bob, and so if ever you've wondered why I like dragons and things like that so much, well, I have some living ones in my house as well. So this is Bob. Bob's just going to go back in her box for a moment, because, as I said, she likes to be really warm, and if she's out for too long, then she gets not very happy. So, unlike Bob, who's quite chilled and quite nice and doesn't eat many villagers very often, the dragon in the Loire Valley, in a town called Vendôme, was eating all the villagers, and for some reason the villagers didn't really like this idea. So they called for some help, and along came Saint Beinheur. Now, Saint Beinheur, he dealt with the dragon in the best way possible. You'll be used to lots of stories. There are lots of dragon stories around, and they usually involve people like Saint George with swords and killing dragons. However, what Saint Beinheur did is he danced. Well, I reckon Saint Beinheur must have been a dad, and he must have been used to going to wedding parties, because he danced so badly that eventually the dragon, rather than having to keep watching him, decided it was far better to strangle himself, as in strangle the dragon, than have to keep watching Saint Beinheur dance. And so the village escaped from the clutches of the horrible dragon, and they didn't get eaten very often anymore. Now, there's another really strange thing, because nearby in this village of Vendôme is a abbey, which is the Abbey de la Trinité. So that's kind of my version of French, the Abbey of the Trinity. Now, in the Abbey of the Trinity, there is, let me just get the other camera again, there is something a little bit like this, only this is just a fake one. However, in the Abbey of the Trinity, you have a bottle which is supposed to be the tears that Jesus cried when his friend died. Now, perhaps you're not used to that idea of a story, that Jesus would cry, because we see in our stories most of the time Jesus helping people, healing people, all sorts of things like that. So I wonder how many of you are surprised at the idea that Jesus died, but this that Jesus cried. This, however, is the story that we had in our churches on Sunday, and I'm going to show it to you again. This is the story of Jesus and Lazarus. And I'm not sure why we haven't got it yet, so let's just, computer's just decided it's thinking about it. So we'll just have to wait for a moment while the computer thinks about it. There we go, hopefully. Okay, the computer's really decided it's not very happy at the moment. So I'll have to tell you this story without the pictures. So Jesus was away in one of the villages called Bethpage, not far away from in the region of Galilee. And while he was there, his friend Lazarus was taken very, very ill. Now, Lazarus has appeared in a number of stories before, and he appeared with his sisters, with Mary and with Martha, who have their own stories as well. Martha writes to Jesus, or sends a message to Jesus saying, "Your friend Lazarus is ill, please come as soon as you can." Now, the interesting thing is that Jesus doesn't come as soon as he can. He actually delays, and he stays where he is for a further 2 days. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? I wonder again whether that might have been what you were expecting to happen. Jesus, however, instead of rushing straight off, he stays and carries on what he's doing. Then after 2 days he sets off to where Mary and Martha and Lazarus live. Again, because of where he is, that takes him a further 2 days. So by the time he gets there, it's been 4 days. And he arrives and he finds the people gathered outside a cave saying, "It's too late, your friend Lazarus has died." However, Jesus' response is, you just need to trust in God. Trust in God and trust in me. And I want you to take the stone away. Now, this is the point also where Jesus, we are told, cries. He is so sad for his friend that he cries. And the response when he tells people to turn the stone away is, "Oh no, that's going to smell. The body's been in there for 4 days now, we can't open that." However, they do as they are told, and Jesus rolls away, gets people to roll away the stone. When the stone is rolled away, Jesus goes in and he commands Lazarus to get up. Lazarus gets up, he walks out of the cave, and Jesus tells him and his friends to go and sort him out, to take off his grave clothes, because all is well. And so this is one of the stories that we remember as we are heading towards Easter, because there is that parallel that Jesus, who himself will be in the tomb, he spends time helping others as well. But I think one of the key things that we're thinking about today is that Jesus himself is sad, that Jesus cries. And to a lot of people that's a shock, but it's also, for a lot of us, a thing that we really hold on to, because we realise that Jesus understands us, that he is just like us, that he stands alongside us when we are happy and when we are sad. So, I want us to think for a moment now, what are the times when we are happy and what are the times when you are sad? Because in a moment we're going to pray and we're going to think of some things to pray about, and some of them will be about times that we are happy and some are about times we are sad. Now, this is going to be interesting. I hope this is going to work. One of our favourite ways of praying at school, I can see that school are on with us now, so hello school, good to see you, is we use our prayer dominoes. Now these are my prayer dominoes, and what we do with my prayer dominoes is that we have a domino. Oh look, that's not working either. Right, everything's decided it's going to have a think about itself and do nothing for a while. Right, let's try again. See if we can get this to work at least. Okay, well I'll try and explain it to you while hopefully the computer finds itself. In prayer dominoes we have 4 different things that we might pray about, and as we open up a domino, it will have 2 sides onto it, and we will get to choose something from one of those sides. And so we will either be doing our thank you to God, and so if we get a green one, then that is a thank you to God, and we think of something to say thank you for, dead simple. Sometimes, however, we get a blue one, which is where we say sorry to God, and we think of things. Sometimes it's about ourselves, sometimes it's about the world we live in that we want to say sorry for. We might get a red one, which is where we are asking God to help, so that's our please dominoes. And then the hardest one, perhaps, to think about is our purple one, which is where we are telling God something about himself. Often our prayers start off by saying something like, God, you are great, God, you are wonderful, God, you are loving. And so we think about something, just like the Psalms, the poems in the Bible do, that where we say something to God. Okay, so let's just see. No, we're not going to do it here. Okay, you can see, however, on your screen there were some dominoes there. Let's just see if it's going to do. And we flip them over and we start. Now the first one, number 1, was a double one, and that one was a telling God something. So just while this is hopefully restarting itself, oh look, it is kind of working. Hey, there we are. Well, I've got it on my screen. I'll tell you what I can do. I can get it on your screen kind of like that, and it'll sort of work. I think that's okay. So if we reveal our first domino, then we have our thinking about. So just wherever you are, if you're with some people, just talk to the person next to you and say to them, tell them something that you know about God, something that you remember about him, a story that you've heard, or something that we say. Okay, now we're going to see if the interaction works. On the screen there are dominoes from 2 to 10. So the first person who responds on the YouTube or on the Facebook chat, type in a number from 2 to 10 and I will reveal that domino. Let's see if anyone gets there. Oh, number 7, we have a number 7. So let's see what's behind number 7. So we move a number out of the way, and we have a green one and a purple one. So what we do now is we move it like we would do with normal dominoes, and we have a green one as our new one. So all I want you to do is just say to the person next to you something that you want to say thank you to God for. And oh, we've got another number coming up, so we've got the next one. So think of something to say thank you to God for. That's our green one, and we'll move on to the next one. Keep the numbers coming. Okay, so Laura on Facebook had number 5, so let's reveal number 5. Oh, we have a red and a green, so we can put a red one up there like that, and a green one is a please help. So again, just whoever you are nearby, just say to them something that you want to ask God to help with. So all sorts of things happening for us at the moment. It might be something to do with that, or it might be something personal. If you don't want to tell the person next to you, just say to yourself and to God. Oh, good, we have another number. We have from school, we have number 6. So I'm going to reveal number 6. Oh no, it's a blue and a green, and we haven't got a blue or a green end. Miss Stitch, what are we going to do? Have we got another number? And we'll come back to number 6. Anybody want to choose another number? Okay, so we have a number 2, so let's see what number 2 is. Oh, that's bad as well. Oh dear, we're going to have to cheat here. Okay, sometimes when we're at school we have to cheat because it doesn't always work quite how we want it to. So let's cheat. Let's put that one in there like that. So we had a blue one, and then we've got another double blue one. So let's just have a think of an I'm sorry, shall we? So again, you can either share this idea with someone next to you, or you can just say it to yourself. Think of something that we are sorry for. Oh, we've got the numbers coming in fast and furious now. Okay, so we had two, with 2's we've done. So next we have number 9. And now we have a red and a purple. So I think what we're going to do. Okay. Red and a purple there. So we now think of a God you are again. Okay, so this is a hard one again. So have a think of a God you are. What can we say? God you are. God you have made the sun lovely and shiny today. Okay, and we've got a number 10 on the Facebook chat. So let's do number 10. We've got a red and a blue, so can we see where that's going to go? That's going to go here. Let's just twist it. And this is a lot easier when you're doing pieces of card and proper dominoes, I have to say. I did try and work out how to do this properly in PowerPoint, but I couldn't. If anyone's got any ideas, do let me know. So we have a please help. So again, let's just think of somebody that we'd like to help. Oh, we've got a prayer from school, which is a God you are brace. So yeah, please do. You don't have to just say them on to each other. If you want to type what your prayers are, that's a good one. So thank you, school. And we've got that red one now, the please help. And we've just got 3, 4 and 8 left. Okay, so let's have number 3. See what's behind there. Is it going to all crash at the top? Oh, look at that, it worked. We can do it. Let's just do it like that. Nice, interesting pattern. So we have another please help. Oh, please help the poor. Thank you, church. Thank you, school. There's a lot of people who are stuck at home at the moment. You might know some people yourselves who are not very well. Okay, and we have number 8. Oh, we've got a green one. Oh no, we're going to have to cheat. We haven't got a green one to go. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's just see what's behind number 4. Oh, that's not going to help anymore, is it, anyway? And we'll finish off with a green one. So we've got a I'm sorry that. So a last sorry one that we can say there. Then we're just going to cheat and stick the green one at the end for a last thank you one. So on the YouTube stream we've got a please help the elderly who are lonely. That's a lovely prayer. Thank you, school. Okay, so we're going to finish our prayers now by saying the Lord's Prayer together. So I think what I can do is we can just keep that there so we can see it, and hopefully what we can do now, no, it's not quite, let's so let's say the Lord's Prayer together. Before we do this, we'll do what we often do at school, just as our way of remembering that we are talking to God. There's nothing magical by lighting a candle, but it just reminds us of God's presence here. And we'll say together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Well, we're coming to the end of our prayers now, and so thank you for joining us. Do please carry on. There are some sheets which, if you haven't got them, they're on our various Facebook pages you can join. We have 2 Facebook pages that work with our St John's Church site. We have the Heads, Hearts and Hands one, which is the one that predominantly we are using here for today, and we've got our virtual Sunday school one. Both of them have got today's sheets. I've actually also put the comic strip on, which you didn't get to see, but I can just show you very briefly now. Looks a little bit like this one. So this is the story as we would have seen it, with Lazarus not being well, the message from Mary and Martha, that Jesus' words, this illness does not lead to death, rather it's for God's glory, that the Son of God may be glorified through it. However, Jesus stays where he was for 2 days, during which time Jesus died. And his tomb was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. So 4 days later Jesus arrived. Mary, Martha, all the friends are sad. And Martha said, Lord, if you had been here, you would have saved Lazarus, but I know God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus commanded the stone to be taken away, even although the people said there would be a terrible stench. Lazarus come out, says Jesus, and out came Lazarus. Jesus says, unbind him and let him go. So there is a copy of that story, and there is also an activity sheet that goes with it, so do have a look at those. Do take some photos or show me what you've done, it would be lovely to see. And we also have on the virtual Sunday school there is a script, and if anyone would like to read some parts out, record them and send them to me, then they'll become part of our Sunday service. I will show you some adverts at the end which tell you about that Sunday service, and also a couple of the things that we have online. However, we're just going to finish with another prayer now. We are going to finish with the grace. So let's say this together. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. Amen. And so those are our websites on Facebook, where you'll find all our different things, different activities and things like that. We're also using Zoom for a coffee morning on Saturday, and on Sunday afternoon we normally would have something called Dice Church, where we play various games and things together, and we're going to have a go at doing that online, which will include one of our favourite cash and guns. So if you'd like to do that, please let me know through the Facebook page, and we will show you how to add that and how to do it. Lovely to have seen you again, kind of. I know you've seen me, but it's nice. Thank you for joining in and putting those comments on, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.